Marhaban. My name is Ian Campbell. This series of 6 videos is the third series in a whole set of videos explaining the basics of how to speak, read, and write Al-Fusha or Modern Standard Arabic. These 6 videos will explore how to create simple sentences. This is much more complicated in Arabic than it is in English, mostly because Arabic lacks capital letters and helper words like is, a, or an. This fourth video will give an overview of how to negate nominal sentences, which is way more complicated than both English and the various dialects of colloquial Arabic. So let's begin with the word for a negation, which is anefi. Its root is nun, fa, ya, as you can probably see here. Just like in English, we use different words to negate different verb tenses or different kinds of sentences. So we have like isn't, am not, are not, ain't, if you want to go that way, did not, do not, will not, and so forth. In Arabic, we use different negation particles as well. So for a nominal sentence, these kinds of sentences that usually have is, am, or are in them in English, we use the verb laysa. It looks like lease, but it's laysa, to not be, which is an irregular verb, and it's conjugated in the past tense. So negating these sentences is a little bit complicated in standard Arabic. What you will learn very quickly is that when you move to an Arabic-speaking country, you will quickly learn how to use the one negation particle for nominal sentences in that particular dialect. I'll talk about this at the very end of the video. There's no way around having to memorize the conjugation pattern for laysa, but this is the same pattern you use for all past tense verbs, so it will come in handy later on. Let's start with first person. I'm going to say ana lestu al-ustav. Because laysa's root is lem, ya, sin, and when waw or ya are root letters, funny things happen. Here the ya just entirely disappears. So this is common when waw or ya is the middle letter of the root. So lestu is I am not, al-ustad. So ana lestu al-ustad. I am, in fact, the professor, but that's the sentence I'm giving you here. So I am not the professor. Nahnu for we, usually pronounced hna. Lesna. So you could see the noon alif ending that we use in the possessive as well. Lesna al-asatidha. We are not the professors. If we want to go for the second person, you here, we're going to say anta, masculine singular you, lesta, it rhymes, at-talib, you are not the student. And anti, feminine singular you, lesti, it rhymes, at-taliba, the student. And we're going to say antum, y'all, because I live in Georgia, lestum, it rhymes, at-tulab, the students. So they rhyme for the second person forms, and that makes it a little bit easier to remember. And this will be true for all past tense verbs as well. So we're going to learn to conjugate this. Lestu for I, lesta and lesti for singular you, lesna for we, lestum for y'all, and then we go with he, she, and it. Hua laysa. The name of the verb is always the same as its he did it form in the past tense. We don't have an infinitive in Arabic. There's no to do something. So we say he did as the name of the verb instead. So huwa laysa al-amil. An amil is a worker. So the root ein mim lem is to work or to labor, usually manual work, not desk work like I'm doing now. Hiya laysat al-amila. She is not the worker. And then hum laysu al-ummal. You could say amilun. Everyone would understand you, just like you could say talibun for students or ustadun for professors. But they all have irregular plurals. Ummal, tulab. It's the same pattern for the plural between these two words here. Laysu, it looks like layswa, but due to a spelling hangover from Quranic days, we add a silent alif at the end of this word, and you do this for third person human plural past tense for all verbs as well. So it looks like layswa, but it's not, it's laysu. So he is not the worker, she is not the worker, they are not the workers. So you're going to have to memorize these 8 words in order to fully negate sentences in formal Arabic. If you're speaking colloquial Arabic, every dialect is going to have its own word that is going to replace all of these. So you'll only have to learn one word. So in Morocco, for example, where I used to live, you say mashi, ana mashi al ustav. It comes from ma she, no thing. In the Middle East proper, you'll usually say mish, which sounds a lot like meshi and comes from exactly the same place. In Iraq, you'll usually say something like mo or mu to do it. And so what you'll do is you'll learn that word, and then you can drop, if you're in Morocco, for example, you can drop mashi into exactly all of these blue words here, and you only have to remember one word instead of 8 of them in order to do it. So that will make things dramatically easier for you. But in formal Arabic, we're going to use this funny, irregular, conjugated in the wrong tense verb in order to negate nominal sentences. So this will work for non-human plurals as well, because the non-human plural is feminine singular rule applies everywhere. So al-ghurfa laysat kabira. The room, because room is feminine singular, we're going to use the hiya form of laysat, and sort of laysa, and say laysat. So laysat kabira, the room is not big or large. If we make it plural, al-ghuraf, non-human plural is still feminine singular, so al-ghuraf laysat kabira, the rooms are not large. These two words won't change at all, because when we go from a feminine singular noun to a non-human plural noun, it remains feminine singular. If we're going to have a group of women here, we can say an-nisa lasna amilat. So amila becomes amilat. So lesna is the 9th one you have to learn. I lied earlier. There's 9, not 8. So lesna is the human female plural one. And I'm also skipping the you all female plural and the various dual ones here as well in an effort to keep this a tiny bit less complicated than it actually is. But it gets more complicated. But wait, it gets better. If the khabar of the sentence is indefinite, notice that all of these khabars up here are definite, which I did on purpose. If the khabar of the sentence is indefinite, we have to add tanween al-fath, the double fatha that is pronounced n, to it. When it doesn't end with ta marbuta or alif hamza, when the word doesn't end is what I mean with ta marbuta or alif hamza, we also have to add an extra unpronounced alif, because we really want to make this as complicated as possible. So let me give you some examples here, and you'll see this. So ana tabib means I am a doctor. And I am a doctor. I have a PhD, but tabib specifically means medical doctor. I'm a doctor is what I am. You don't want me prescribing you medication. Actually, in fact, you do want me prescribing you medication. So ana tabib, I am a doctor. Ana at-tabib, I am the doctor. Anta lesta, you are not. Now I took tabib, and because it's indefinite here, a doctor, I have to add tanween al-fath, so it becomes tabiban, and then I have to add an extra unpronounced alif to it. Again, these are spelling hangovers from Quranic days is where these come from. Usually you will see this written without the tanween al-fath, but with the extra alif. So something that you really want to get used to is to see words that you know, like tabib for doctor, with an extra alif stuck on the end. And this can be useful because you identify it as sort of the predicate of the sentence, or later we'll find out the object of a verb as well. If you're a woman, however, anti lesti tabibatan, because it ends with ta marbuta, we don't add the extra alif. Now, in practice, nobody actually says it this way. You're going to say ana tabib, ana at-tabib, anta mashi tabib. And you're going to leave this off in spoken Arabic. You're only going to put this on in the standard language that you'll see in journalism and religious discourse and scientific discourse and so forth, literature as well. So this is how you do it properly. You add this extra alif when the tanween al-fath comes on a word that doesn't have ta marbuta or alif hamza on the end, and then you'll just add the tanween al-fath on the top of the ta marbuta otherwise. But in practice, in casually spoken Arabic, nobody actually adds or says these endings. I'm giving them to you here because that's how standard Arabic works. If you're studying Arabic because you want to learn your Quran better, you'll want to learn this. But if you're doing it because you want to converse with other people, it's largely irrelevant. It's here for completeness purpose. So, nahnu lesna umalan. So, umal is workers. We are not workers. Only here, because the word ends with lem, we add tanween al-fath, and then we have to add the extra alif, turning it into the lem alif character. So, as we say a lot, thanks Arabic for being this complicated. So, we are not workers, is what's being said here. Antum lestum, y'all are not asatidhatan. So when we have ta marbuta above ta, or when we have tanween al-fath above ta marbuta, we hear the ta in ta marbuta. So up here we have anti lesti tabibatan, and here we have antum lestum asatidhatan. Now again, in spoken Arabic, no one's going to add this ending. Hum leisu, again it looks like leiswa, but it's not, it's leisu. Otiba is the irregular plural of tabib. So otiba, and because it ends with alif hamza, we also don't add an extra alif here. Keep this for reference, understand it. It's not done in the spoken language, but it is done in the written language. And if you've got a professor who's going to make you write things properly, or if you're trying to write literature, or if you're trying to read literature or journalism or religious discourse, this will come in all the time. So the human plural ending un is going to change to een after any form of lesa. In spoken Arabic, it's always een. So I can ask, hal antum muhandasuna? So hal is our hello, I am asking you a yes or no question. And then you all engineers. So I'm asking, are you all engineers? And these people are going to answer back la for no. And in even early 20th century Arabic, all the way up until then, you wouldn't really see punctuation, but now you will. It's just that the comma is upside down and backwards, just like the question mark is backwards. In fact, the question mark comes from Arabic. Our question mark is backwards. So la, comma, nahnu lesna, and we're going to say muhandasin instead. In all of the dialects of spoken Arabic, un is always een, so this won't be a problem either. You'd say hanna mashi muhandasin in Moroccan Arabic, for example. Now I have to say, it's nearly always just fine to leave off the pronoun before lesa when its subject is clear, because lesa, the way we conjugate lesa, includes the pronoun, sort of like in Spanish when you don't have to say the pronoun, you can just conjugate the verb. So I can say ana fanan. A fanan is an artist. I am not, in fact, an artist. So ana fanan. I can say lesto, I'm not. I don't have to say the ana here. I can just say ana. I could just say lesto fananan. And again, because it's indefinite, I have to add tanween al-fath. Because I've added tanween al-fath and the word does not end with ta marbuta or hamza, I have to add an extra unpronounced alif. Lestu fananan. I am not an artist. If I add the pronoun outside of a context where it's, or inside a context where it's clear, what that has the effect of doing is emphasizing this particular subject. So if I say ana lestu fananan, what I'm saying is I'm not an artist, but somebody else probably is. And then leisu, they are not, and then fananun becomes fananin, so they are not artists. In spoken Arabic, it's always fananin. So this is a really overcomplicated thing you just kind of have to learn to do if you're going to function in the formal language. So I can say Aisha leysat mohandasa. Aisha is not an engineer. So here we have, if we wanted to be really proper, we'd put the tanween al-fath here, which I clearly didn't bother to do right here because no one says it, so I just kind of blew it. So Aisha leysat mohandasatan, if we're going to be super proper about it. If I just say laysat muhandasatan, presumably we know who the she is because we've been discussing this all along. That's the trouble with these very short sentences, is they lack context. Laysat muhandasatan, she's not an engineer. But if I say hiya laysat muhandasatan, when we already know we're talking about Aisha, what I mean is she's not an engineer, and presumably somebody else, her girlfriend or whatever, is. So that's the effect of doing this. It's totally okay to leave the pronoun off. So learn the verb laysa, learn the conjugation pattern, which is going to come in handy when you learn past tense verbs, and then understand at least that these funny things exist, that we have to add tanween al-fath and sometimes the extra unpronounced alif, and the un will change to een, and beyond that you can just learn to use it. Negating a nominal sentence, I forgot to make this disappear, is much, much easier in the colloquial dialects. Learn the negation particle for that particular dialect, plug it in for whatever form of laysa you're using. So you won't have a problem with that. But if you're going to use formal Arabic, you need to learn this conjugation pattern, and you need to be at least aware of this funny rule here with the tanween al-fath and the extra alif. So that's enough for this one. It's harder to negate a sentence in formal Arabic than it is in either the dialects or in English, but that's enough for now, and I'm going